What's up, sinners? What's snapping? All right. I'll give you guys a moment to get on up here in the ZOpium Den and give you a minute to tag some folks if you're so inclined.
Yes.
We always appreciate those. Hit that share button as you're coming in, and on the way out, hit that tip jar if you also feel so inclined. Oh, you religious Christian folks, you and your collection plate. Hey, first up, I ain't religious.
Amen.
I ain't religious.
Neither am I.
And I figure, if you guys value the presentation and whatnot, if you guys are those free market conservatives who are pro-commercialism and stuff like that, then, don't be mad if you're getting some good information and a good time up in here. It's the most fun you're going to have online studying the Word of God, I'm telling you. Don't nobody else do it like we do up here in the ZOpium Den.
Right.
Anti-Fuddy Duddy Bible study.
Fuddy Duddy.
And don't get me wrong, y'all, because we're thankful for anybody out there who is trying to promote the truth.
Amen.
And, the truth. No fake news. Ain't no fake news
Right.
Between Genesis and Revelation. It's the real deal. The good news. So that's what we hear trying to let folks know of. So that's how we do. And I thank you guys who are showing up. You guys know I'll derail really easy if I try to acknowledge everybody like this is Romper Room and like me trying to call out everybody's name and stuff like that. I'm already losing my train of thought now. But much love to y'all as you guys are coming in, and we are grateful to see you. And let's make the best and most of this study. But before we get started, y'all, this is reasons why we do this. Like say for instance, right now we got to deal with Walker, Texas Ranger. That was a manly show back in the day, wasn't it now? Yeah. Remember when, when a man kicked in this one, it was meant a little something different. This time, I guess when Walker, Texas Ranger start doing some kicking, it might be, with some show tunes in the background or something to it like that. I don't know. But, hey, y'all, the thing is, when you get out there and you ask people, because pretty much, I guess, in a self-righteous display, you're gonna have all these people out there saying, you know what? I don't care if they're gay. I don't care. I don't care what people do. I don't care. It's like I don't care about a person's sexuality. I don't care. It's like that's what you always hear. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, look, if it doesn't, it's like take that as a cue, Hollywood. When you ask, it's like because that's the narrative. Nobody cares. Right? I don't care what you do. I don't care what your orientation is. I don't care about your sexual preference and all that sort of stuff. If nobody cares, why is there so much propaganda for it?
Oh, Lord. Amen.
Why is it being pushed on us so much?
Absolutely
if nobody cares?
Right.
I sure don't. Yeah. I don't care. So why do I have to see it all the time? You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't get me wrong. When I say I don't care, it's not so much that I don't care in like, there's this apathy. It's not an apathetic not care sort of thing. It's a kind of thing where, look, what two consenting adults do in the privacy of their own home, on their property, in their property, and so on and so forth, that's their business. Now, once you try to push it beyond that, and you're making a statement that you enjoy sex between the same sexes, and you want the culture to endorse that, now I've got a problem.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're forcing me to submit to the ideals of man ahead of the ideals or ahead of the ideal of God.
True.
Now I got a problem. So, but that's what's being forced on us, y'all. And you're going to take a show like Walker, Texas Ranger, and we, as we all know, Chuck Norris is pretty much conservative. Right.
Oh, yeah, and Christian.
Yeah, conservative and Christian. Now, the thing is, when it comes to Hollywood, y'all, when it comes to conservatives in Hollywood, those who are in the entertainment business, y'all, and here's, let me say this really quick. Every conservative in media thinks that they're pretty much, if they're a conservative pundit or commentator, something like that, we all think that we're the high priest of conservatism. Okay. we all do. It's something that I struggle with. I try to promote that Yeshua himself is the high priest and king. Nobody out conservatives him. Nobody out conservatives him. All right. He's got it locked, right? He is the radical. He is the one. Okay. And he is the standard. But the thing is, in Hollywood, conservatives, they leave out a lot of things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, they'll call themselves conservatives, but it's like they leave. It's like, you know, remember how we were talking about, you know, in the last ZOpium Den, we were talking about those curtains, how they have to be of equal measure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're conservative, each of these things need to be of equal measure. And if you leave out certain things, it's gonna hurt your build of conservatism.
Yeah.
And if you have this arbitrary foundation to build it on, it's going to suffer. So you have conservative, like say, for instance, you got conservatives in Hollywood who are atheists. Okay, well, if you're an atheistic conservative, you don't have a good foundation to build your conservatism on. It's going to collapse. Okay, you have conservatives who may be pro-gay marriage. They call themselves conservatives, and they even call themselves Christians, but they're pro-gay marriage. Well, that doesn't square up. Your conservatism is going to fall apart. You may vote conservative, but socially, you're affecting the culture negatively. It's going to cancel itself out. Okay. You have people out there who call themselves conservative, but are pro legalization of drugs or marijuana or decriminalization. Which even I personally, I'm not for criminalization of marijuana. Believe it or not, I know this probably shocks people. Here's where I go with that. For marijuana, if you get caught with it, you should get fined, right? If you don't show up to pay your fine, then your behind goes to jail. Okay, it's like arresting somebody for marijuana and filling the jails up doesn't really make much sense, but you should be fined for it. If you get fined and you don't show up, you got a failure to appear in court, and then you should go to jail.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But and the reason why I come down on this, y'all, this is not an endorsement of the legalization of marijuana, because the fact that we're making it legal is basically legalizing pharmakia. And when you legalize pharmakia, what you're doing is that you're legalizing witchcraft.
Amen.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And as we understand, the Lord has serious issues with witchcraft.
Yeah.
All right. That's where all that stuff comes in. It doesn't matter if it's marijuana. It doesn't matter if it's heroin, cocaine, mescaline, flipping mushrooms, anything that you want to take to remove yourself from reality.
Right.
This is an exercise in pharmakia.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't endorse this. There should be a penalty for it.
Yeah.
I don't think that the first penalty for marijuana should be going straight to jail.
I never thought about that, honey.
Right. But should be fined for it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we can get, we can go deeper off into that. But at least you guys kind of get well, if you want to know my deeper understanding of it, get my books. You can always get my books. So, but all that to say, the reason why I'm saying that is because you have people, in Hollywood, conservatives. Therefore, marijuana being just flat out legal.
Yeah. Right.
See, I don't roll with that. If you get caught with it, there should be a penalty for it.
I've heard the way they speak, and most libertarians, because there's no conservatives in Hollywood, as you and I know. Mm-hmm. I've heard them say that all drugs should be legalized.
Yeah, when it gets down to it, right? It's like everything. It's like, man, that's and on what basis? See, the whole thing about being a conservative is about independence, right?
Right.
But here it is. You got these so-called conservatives advocating for the legalization of dependency.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. And if you're a Christian, then the Lord should be able to see. The thing is, y'all, we have a constitution, right? We got the U.S. Constitution. This is the thing that we're supposed to be adhering to. But as Christian conservatives, we should understand that the Constitution itself is built on a standard designed by our Creator.
Yes. That is our meta constitution, y'all. Amen.
That is the all-encompassing constitution. That is the constitution that you answer to first.
Woo. Yes.
And with that constitution is how you square up the U.S. Constitution.
Amen.
That is how we preserve our liberty, y'all. And you got a lot of these conservatives out there who are just they're lost in this because they idolize liberty rather than submitting to the author himself of liberty.
Ooh, say that again.
They submit. They idolize liberty.
Yes.
It's not the author of liberty that they answer to. It's liberty itself. And that is an example of worshiping the creation, not the creator.
Oh my goodness. I have never considered this. I know so many Republicans and conservatives who don't know the Bible.
They don't.
They are conservative. But they don't know the author of the laws that we base our Constitution on.
Or even those who call themselves Christian conservatives.
Right.
But y'all, this is what I'm talking about. This, if you read my book, A Solid Right Cross, you will see all these things that people, they'll even claim to be Christians, but they put these things before the kingdom. Conservatism before the kingdom, country before the kingdom, color before the kingdom, chromosomes before the kingdom.
Yes.
Everything is before the kingdom.
Gender.
The kingdom comes first.
Yes. Amen.
That's what you got to have. But in Hollywood, and we're talking about this because of, like things like Walker, Texas Ranger being co-opted by liberalism and secularism, and Clint Eastwood, who gets the stamp of being a conservative. He's not even close. He's not even close to being a conservative, but he gets to be the standard bearer or something of like of Hollywood, because he's Hollywood conservative royalty.
Yes,
basically.
Exactly.
And he's not even conservative. Okay. And this stuff
he's
is
not even close.
Yeah.
He's pro-choice.
Yeah. Pro-gay marriage, pro-legalization of drugs. It's like, I don't even know if he believes in God, and now I'm not the kind of person who would try to say you have to believe in God, but y'all, the thing is, to be a conservative is about conserving something. In order to do that, you have to have a foundation to build it on.
Amen.
And you have to, now for conservatism, if you're conservative out there, let me ask you, you don't believe in God. What is your cornerstone?
Right.
What do you level your conservatism on? Do you have the ideas that will stand the ages? No, you don't.
Well, they say it's the Constitution.
The Constitution?
That's my cornerstone.
Well, the thing is, even the founders of the Constitution and our founding documents had a cornerstone. That was Jesus, the creator,
Hallelujah.
the supreme judge of the world, who they acknowledge in the Declaration of Independence.
Woo. Yes.
When they pledge, when they made that sacred pledge, they said appealing to the supreme judge of the world. Where do you get that name from? In the Bible, mentioned many times, God is the judge of the world.
Yes.
So he's even in there. So when I listen to these so-called constitutional Hollywood people, who are so pro-Constitution, it's like, well, don't you think that we need to answer to God first? Because that's who the founders answered to.
Yes, true.
All the pledges that they made their appeal to the supreme judge of the world. If you guys have such an affection for them, why don't we follow in that footstep?
Right.
But it's a lot of lip service, y'all. It's a lot of lip service. That's why I laugh when I hear about this so-called Hollywood conservative movement. There ain't one. There isn't. Yeah. Okay. It's not solid on what, and you'll even have so-called conservatives in Hollywood saying that, well, they'll leave God out of stuff because, it's not good business. It's not good business to have,
Absolutely. We see that all the time.
Like say for instance, or another person comes to mind is Rush Limbaugh.
Uh-oh.
And I'm a big fan. Been listening to Rush for a long time. And we got our prayers for Rush. We're trusting in the Lord to pull him through. Yes. But when Rush says talent on loan from God, I believe it.
Yes.
But does he? Does he really believe it? Does he really believe it? Because I just heard Rush say the other day, when he even broke it down because somebody asked him and he's like, well, I talent on loan from God because I do believe it is talent on loan from God. But then he contradicts himself. In the very next breath, he contradicts himself. He says, when I say that, I'm just basically giving thanks to whatever talent I have to wherever it comes from.
Wait, what?
That's what he said. He says, when I say talent on loan from God, it's just me being thankful for whatever talent I have from wherever it comes from. Right? Come on, man. This guy's a communication expert. It's like, dude, you got to be more solid than that, man. Are you down? Do you really recognize where your talent comes from? Are you really thankful to God? I mean, I'm talking about not some God that, a higher power, hey, Jesus was probably the son of it. No, I mean, are you solid with that? Yeah. Really solid with that. So that kind of stuff, is disappointing. And I heard on his show, people were going around asking, I think it was a Trump rally. And please double check this, y'all, because I heard it. Admittedly, I haven't had the time to go and double check it myself, but I did hear it. I hope it's not true. I hope you guys will check it. I would like to go and check it myself. But when you have people going to Trump rallies and they're asking, I've heard this, this is on Rush. And Rush said they're being asked, if you had the choice to vote for Trump or Jesus Christ, who would you vote for? And they said Trump.
Oh.
That's disappointing to hear. I'd like to hear more on that. But y'all, that's not
beyond discipline.
That's something that shouldn't even be out there. That's cult of personality stuff, y'all. That's idolatry. That kind of stuff can get us, that stuff can get us really messed up.
Yeah.
Really messed up, y'all. If you got people out there talking, because, you know, you do see it, people out there fanatical about Trump.
Sure, yeah.
You know? But when you got, it's like, it's really, you got people out there who will say that between voting for Jesus Christ and voting for Trump, they would vote for Trump.
That infuriates me.
That's disappointing, yeah, to an almost infuriating level.
Oh my God.
You know, but that's you know, that's where we at, y'all. That's, you know, between, like I said, the entertainment industry, so-called conservative entertainment industry.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I keep bugging people, man. I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to start that production company so we can do it solid. You know, do these productions with style and guts, creatively promote truth, y'all. You know, creative, like I'm talking solidly, creatively promote truth.
Yeah.
Style and guts. You know, that's how we want to do it. It takes time, y'all, and it takes money. Remember, y'all, the legion that's out there promoting lies, y'all, it's an industry. It's a big machine.
Yeah.
And they're out there and they're generating lies. And where's our support for the counter?
Honey.
You know? So, you know, finding a solidly conservative in Hollywood is really like trying to find a leprechaun. I don't mind saying that I am one of them, you know, but once again, that could be quite subjective.
A leprechaun or a conservative?
Right. You know, you have some, it's like, well, Zoe, you're not really conservative. Well, you know, as far as I can tell, I am. But like I said earlier, every conservative in media, if we've got a platform, we all think that we're the high priest of conservatism. You know, and you know, I'm no exception, even though I would like to think that I don't have that attitude. I try to square what I understand about conservatism by the true and eternal cornerstone himself.
Amen.
You know, not by my ideals, but by the word of God. That's my standard. That's my square. All right. So, and one more thing, y'all. And it's weird because I do try to, you know, let people know of these things, but it's one of those things where it's like, if they didn't think of it, you know, they don't want to hear you say, but you know, it's a weird thing because people host shows and they have guests on, you know, and they give them a platform to, you know, promote, you know, their ideas and their perspectives on things, you know, but it's almost become very cliquish. You know, they have like it's one of those things where, let me dial that back. They have people on who are not a threat to their brand.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like they have people on who will not eclipse them. And I don't want to, you know, it's like, I don't try to I repeat these things because this is an opinion that people have of me. They're like, yeah, dude, they don't have you on, man, because you steal the show. You know, I try not to. It's not my objective. I don't assume to be the big brain in the room or anything like that. I don't mind saying that I've been blessed with a unique perspective on things in pointing out things that in a way that people usually don't. You know, but do I assume to be like the scholar, you know, or this person with an illustrious academic career? No, I don't. Right? I'm not that guy. You know, I just have a unique. I think I've been blessed with a unique way of expressing things, pointing out perspectives, things that I see in the Word of God. It's not a unique way, but it's like when I look at the scriptures, you know, I'm like, dude, did you happen to see this? And I do not put my own perspective on it. I grab it from, this is where I got it from. It's connecting dots. Amen. When it comes to conservatism and my commentaries and stuff like that, it's still connecting dots, but in the way that I express it, it's unique to me. You know, it's my own way of doing things that people usually don't do. But, you know, when I go to do interviews and stuff like that, I'm trying to tell conservatives, there's things that you're doing that are you know, you can get your political victory with Trump. You can get your political victory, but the culture, remember, we're governed by our consent, and the culture out there, we're losing the culture. The culture's going crazy. What do you think that the culture's doing well because we got homosexuals that are gravitating to Trump? Or like how we got Walker, Texas Ranger now, that used to be a pretty much conservative leaning show, but now it's going to have a gay conservative brother in it?
Yeah, and it was moral.
The serpent is, right?
Fashion morals.
Yeah, right? The serpent is getting into the garden, y'all.
Man.
Long gotten in there. Okay, the culture is going crazy. The culture is melting down while you got there, oh, Trump, 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 Trump. Yay! While the culture is just getting more and more sick.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can have your political victory, but the culture is cracking up.
Yeah.
Okay, what, you think everything's all good because the economy's getting better and jobs are getting better? The only thing you're doing is that you're giving people more money to screw things up with. That's what's happening. You can have all the money, you can have all the jobs, but culturally, you're basically funding the collapse of the culture.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
That's not a good thing, y'all. It's kind of what happened to Rome.
Yeah.
You know, it happens to the greatest civilizations. Culturally, they crack up, but they've got money and they've got wealth and they're a great empire, but they collapse from within.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know,
if you have no morals and you destroy the family, then that's exactly what Satan wants.
And y'all, it's like, you know, we as conservatives, we like to think of like the long term, right? Well, what you gonna do after Trump is out of office? What you gonna replace, you know, the Trump years with?
That's gonna be scary.
You haven't promoted conservatism in the culture. How long did it take from Reagan to get to Trump?
40 years.
Right? Was it 40?
About.
No, I wasn't that long. 20, 30 years? My math ain't that great, y'all, I admit it. But from Reagan,
5 years?
Yeah, I mean, come on now. Through the 90s, through the early 2000s, I mean, we're looking at a little better than 20 years. How long? That's how long it took, right? It's like it feels like a long time. It feels like, wow, it feels like about 40 years. It feels like it. You know, when you look at it, it's like, damn, how long? I mean, because when Reagan started out, you know, we're looking at, you know, when he got in office, we're looking at 40 years from Reagan started to where we're at now. But after he got out, y'all, how long did it take?
Oh my.
You know, you want to go through that again? So, you know, but we're not promoting conservatism in the culture. And, you know, think long term. We like to think of ourselves as long term thinkers, but we're not thinking long term, y'all. We're just not.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I try to go on. It's weird, y'all. It's almost like a supernatural thing, y'all. It's like supernatural. I try to have the conversation with conservatives. I get invited on their radio shows and try to let them know this is what conservatives are doing to promote the idea, they're helping liberals promote the idea that the parties have switched sides. They help them with that. And I'm trying to let them know. But before I can even get started, and the thing is, this is what I went on the show for. I let them know this is what I'm coming on your show for. They call me back and they say, okay, yeah, come on the show. We'll talk about it. The second we get to start talking about it, they steer it to someplace else. They don't want to hear the truth about this. They don't want to hear that they're misusing the term radical. They're misusing this idea of conservatives being classical liberals. They're it's like all these ideas that they're promoting out there that they're doing. They're promoting the idea that the parties have switched sides. When they talk about this new Democrat Party, it's not a new Democrat Party. They're the same people, the same ideas of entitlements. It's the same Democrat Party. I've been trying to tell them, but when I try to tell them on the radio shows, they want to steer away from the conversation. They want to keep to this idea that it's a new Democrat Party, a new socialist Democrat Party, that they're radicals, and that, you know, as conservatives, we're the classical conservatives and stuff like that. And none of this stuff is true. None of it. And all it does is promote the idea that the parties have switched sides.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
That's one of the hardest things that conservatives are having to deal with in promoting their ideas. Because people say, oh, well, yeah, you know, so we try to tell them, well, all that stuff is the Democrat Party. Yeah, but the parties have switched sides. And because of that, they don't trust you and your policies.
Right. So once again, Republican commentators are confirming this lie.
Yeah, they confirm it. And I'm like, dude, you guys, you might want to stop doing that. You might want to knock it off. And what sucks even more is when I hear these people say that, and then sometimes I'll catch them change the language on it. Every now and then, now I'm starting to hear it. They've been saying this new Democrat Party, this new socialist Democrat Party, this new Democrat Party. Now they're saying, well, they've always been like this. Oh, really? You mean after I've been saying it for a couple of years?
Right.
Right? I've been trying to tell you it's not a new Democrat Party. They've been like this. You know, like Norman Mattoon Thomas back in the early 1900s saying, dude, people will buy socialism. He was a democratic socialist back then. He said, they'll buy it. They'll buy it. We're going to go socialist. Right? Why? Because socialism is all about entitlement. That's who Democrats are. Yeah. That's why they felt entitled to make slaves work, to benefit off the fruits of their labor. That's who Democrats are. Right? So I've been saying this, And now these commentators that I hear who have been saying it's a new Democrat Party, now they're changing their language and saying, oh, they've always been like this. Oh, maybe because you heard me say it, but you don't want to mention that I said it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like when somebody tweeted to me the other day, and thank you,
Dr. Ariani.
Dr. Irani. He tweeted to me the other day. He tweeted out, it's like, thank you, Zoe, because you've been saying this for years, right? And he was commenting. He was responding to a tweet that was put out by Prager praising Candace Owens and for talking about the party switch is a myth, and saying that the Democrats are the KKK and giving all this information that I've been given for years, And Prager knows who I am. Dinesh DSouza knows who I am. I've been making these videos before PragerU started making videos. I've been making these videos talking about the switch and all that sort of stuff and who the Democrats are before Dinesh DSouza started making movies. I've been doing it before them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying I've been around longer than him and doing what they've been doing to promote this information in the culture. I'm just saying I've been doing it longer than they've been making videos.
Yeah. As long as messaging and teaching about this longer than they've been talking about it.
And longer than he's been making movies. So I've been out there doing it, but they pretend like I don't exist. They know who I am. The only time Dinesh DSouza contacts me is when he has a handler contact me because he wants me to help them promote their stuff. But never, ever. It's like dude's never mentioned me out loud.
Yeah, honey, I want to give a little bit of background. You always try to help fellow conservative out in the movement. You will, tweet their stuff out. You'll promote them, and you just want, good friendship with them so that the conservative message grows in the culture. Yeah. But in return, you get you're basically dead to these people. They are only about self-promotion, and that's it. And it comes to a point where I'm like, honey, just don't bother it anymore because you're just going to get frustrated because they only want to self-promote.
Like when Prager uses the whole shadow banning thing, that's a promotional tool for Prager. That's not shadow banning. You know what shadow banning is? Shadow banning is when your livelihood is destroyed.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Shadow banning leaves you basically in financial ruin is what it does.
Yes.
If your career was out there promoting information and using these social media platforms and stuff like that, and that was your career, and then all of a sudden it's taken away from you, that's shadow banning. Okay, if I say, hey, I'm shadow banned, right? And hardly anybody knows, because I get people all the time ask, almost every day, like one person a day will say, dude, I haven't seen your work in like months or years. It's like, yeah, I've been shadow banned. But most of my audience doesn't know that. PragerU is going to talk about him being shadow banned. Dude, when you go and you say that you're shadow banned, and in 2 days you're able to raise $50,000 for it, that's not shadow banning. That's a promotional tool for PragerU.
Yeah.
You're not shadow banned. When thousands of your audience are able to respond to you talking about being shadow banned, when you say that you're shadow banned and most of your audience knows about it, that's not shadow banning.
Right.
When you're able to use shadow banning as a means to raise funds, that's not shadow banning. Yes. You're benefiting off of the plight of other people.
Oh, you know what? I never thought of it that way.
That's you know what I'm saying? There's people who are really shadow banned, people who are really in financial ruin because of shadow banning. You're not, Dennis. Yeah. Okay, that stuff cracks me up, man.
Yeah, the fact that he has fundraisers like every week because he's censored and shadow banned. Miley has even seen one of my posts because I always have to comment on those posts. Like, you're not shadow banned. Even
right now, it's like I don't know. That's kind of, well, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Somebody put in Candace Owens 2024. Okay.
Well, we would help out with her campaign, but Zoe has always been dead to her, even though he's promoted the heck out of her.
Right. I've tried, like I said, I've tried to reach.
No reciprocation.
I've reached out. I reached out to these people. I have. Right before Candace Owens blew up, I reached out to her. Brush off. I've shared the stage with her. I've been in the same room with her. Right. And these people do not want to know me. All right. They pretend like I don't exist. Why? because I interfere with their brand. Candace Owens wants to be seen as the trailblazer.
Yeah.
The black girl who stepped on the scene and woke the rest of the black community up. That's who she wants to be seen as. Okay. She don't like it that somebody was doing that before her. Okay. So, I mean, she'll give credit to like people like Larry, not in the way that I was doing it. Yeah. I was the dude doing viral videos.
Well, she'll give credit to people who also work for the same company that she works for.
Right. So
that doesn't hurt her.
Yeah. But I'm glad she's got fans here. Okay. Anyway, y'all. I was able to say all that. My beard looked good.
Yeah.
That's that Arcadian Buffalo stuff.
Arcadian Buffalo soaps.
That's right. If you got a beard, you're going to want some.
And if you have skin, her soaps are awesome.
Right? Yeah. She got soaps too, y'all.
Fantastic.
Arcadian Buffalo. Just type it in. Okay. And make sure you guys check out Stars and Stripes Forever Pack. Doing great work to promote conservatism in the culture, y'all. I'm working with them. So Stars and Stripes Forever Pack. Let them know that Zo sent you. All right, y'all. Let's get the high priest and king in here, Yeshua, the Holy Spirit in his name. And we trust in you, Lord, to oversee our study and counsel us and help us to be effective salt and light for your glory, Lord. Yes, Lord. In Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's do it. All right, y'all, we're on Acts 26. See what we can do with it. So Agrippa said to Paul, "It is permitted for you to speak for yourself." Then Paul stretched out his hand and began his defense. "Concerning all I am accused of by the Judean leaders, I consider myself fortunate, King Agrippa, that is before you, that I am about to make my defense today, since you are especially knowledgeable about all Jewish customs and issues. Therefore, I beg you to listen patiently to me." Interesting thing for Paul to say patient, because here's the thing about Agrippa, like the Herods, right? These kings. They're, how can I put this, y'all? They're Jews, but they're not Jews. All right, they're learned Jews, they're adopted Jews, but they're still in the line of Shem. See, Agrippa and the Herods, they're Edomians. Edomians are Edomites. And who are Edomites? Oh. They're descendants of Esau, right? And we know that Esau wasn't very patient. Right. Give me some of that red stuff, Jacob, or I'll whoop your right? So these are where they're descended from. So they're still Semitic. They're still, from Abraham, right? And then there's then you go from you got your Esau and you got your Jacob. From there, there's this whole other thing. Okay, so we'll get back to that in just a second. So please listen to me patiently. Now, all the Jewish people have known my manner of life ever since my youth, starting from the beginning in my own nation, also in Jerusalem. They have known about me for a long time. If they were willing to testify that according to the strictest sect of our religion, I lived as a Pharisee, yet now I stand here being judged for the hope and the promise made by God to our fathers. It is the promise that our 12 tribes hope to attain as they earnestly worship day and night, or night and day. And for this hope, I am accused by Jewish people. Oh, King, this is why. Why is it judged incredible by any of you that God raises the dead? Okay, so let's back up. Let's get back to the Herods, like Agrippa and stuff like that. Okay. When we look at verses like Malachi 1, 4-7, where it says, though Edom may say, we have been devastated, but we will rebuild the ruins. This is what the Lord of hosts says. They may build, but I'm going to demolish. They will be called the land of wickedness and people with whom the Lord is indignant forever. You will see this with your own eyes, and you yourselves will say the Lord is great, even beyond the borders of Israel. Why is this important? Okay, check this out, y'all. What did we just say? Herods, they're Edomians, Edomites. They're descendants of Esau. The first temple was destroyed, right? And that means that God meant what he said.
Yeah.
Because Solomon built that temple. That temple was built by Solomon. His daddy was David. His mother was Bathsheba. And Bathsheba was what? A Hittite.
Oh.
And who did Esau have a special taste for?
Oh.
Hittite women.
Really?
That's right.
Oh, boy.
His mom had an issue with the Hittite women. I'm pretty sure the Canaanite women too.
Yeah.
And his daddy had the issue with the Canaanite women.
Wow.
They didn't like either of them. But Esau did. Esau dug him them Hittite hoochies. That's what he liked. So chances are really good that Bathsheba is a descendant of Esau because she's a Hittite, right? Her husband was a Hittite, the one that David had killed.
Uriah?
Right?
Yeah.
Uriah was a Hittite. Bathsheba was most likely Hittite and then became Jewish, right? So if Bathsheba's a Hittite, that means that the blood and curse of Esau came through her and that temple was destroyed.
Whoa.
Right?
That's crazy.
So then we get to the Herods who have a hand in refurbishing the temple. What happened to that temple? Destroyed. Because Herods come through the line of Esau.
Wow.
So it's all in there, y'all. This stuff came to pass.
Wow.
So it's interesting that Paul is like, be patient with me. Because he's talking to a descendant of the impatient Esau.
Oh, that's so...
Right?
Wow.
Trip out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to what did we just read? Why is it judged incredible by any of you that God raises the dead? Okay, check this out, y'all. People, Paul is, everything has to point back to Jesus. Remember, that's what we read. The whole book is about Jesus. That's what we got to keep in mind. It's about Jesus, so you recognize him. That's why that way you're not partaking in idolatry. That way, if you happen to be here, like say for instance, if you're left behind, you don't end up falling for the Antichrist.
Yeah. You're
gonna have this evidence that is when all these Christians vanish, that's one of those things where it's like, oh man, I should have believed. Well, let me not be a sucker this time and fall for a false Messiah. Okay. Yeah. So you gotta understand who Jesus is. You gotta read the scriptures, and he's in there from Genesis to Revelation. It tells you who he is. Okay. Now, when it comes to the resurrection, Paul's got to point y'all back to who he is. Now, the thing is, how do we point back to the resurrection in the Old Testament? Because the Old Testament doesn't seem to really talk about it, does it? You go look for it. It's like, was there anybody resurrected in the Old Testament? You'll find a couple things. I haven't found any couple, but I, thank God, I remembered. I was like, yeah, there was a resurrection in the Old Testament. There's people brought back from the dead.
Yeah.
Right. But y'all, the thing is, in Jewish custom, to be like bona fide dead, you got to be dead at least 3 days.
Right.
Right. As the spirit lingers and stuff like that, they have that. And then, of course, there's the issue of your body just doesn't, it's just not a function. It's decomposing. Yeah. Right. Like Lazarus was like 4+ days or something like that. 4 days. He was funky. Right. Lazarus, funky, man. He ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. Right. So, but Jesus said otherwise. But here's the thing, y'all. You had people in the Old Testament who were brought back to life. If anything, from a deep sleep, what Jesus would call sleep. It's like they just sleep. Right. Mm-hmm. But if they're dead for like a couple of hours or a couple of days, Jews in the Jewish culture, that's not really counted as dead. That's why one of the reasons why Jesus stayed in the grave 3 days, right? Stayed in there 3 days. So he was dead. Yeah. All right. But in the Old Testament, how can Paul point to Jesus being the resurrection when there is no resurrection? Because resurrection, y'all remember, for resurrection, you got to be like long dead. You got to be at least 3 days dead for it to be an actual resurrection when your body is pulled back from decay. Yes. You can't be just like you just died, you know, and you out for, you know, a few minutes or a couple of hours or something like that. It's like, no, that don't cut it.
Yeah.
Right. I had a nephew who drowned. He was gone for about a half an hour. He should have until it was a miracle that he was brought back. So how is Paul going to point back to the resurrection if there really wasn't one?
Yeah.
If there wasn't one in the Bible to speak of. But wait, yes, there was. And Jesus called it out himself. Jonah.
Oh, that's right.
Don't forget Jonah.
Oh my.
But see, the thing is, and this probably because a lot of people today, even Christians, y'all, the reason why they miss this is because they dismiss the Jonah account is allegorical. Jesus was just speaking a metaphor.
Yeah.
Even though Jonas is mentioned in the Old Testament and Jesus recalls him, they take it as a metaphor.
I was taught it was a metaphor.
See, y'all, here's the thing. That doesn't make sense. How are you going to call that a metaphor? If you think that that's a metaphor, then why would you even believe in the virgin birth?
Well, yeah, you can't pick and choose what's true
right?
and what's not.
You can't pick and choose like what's too fantastical or not. A virgin birth is too fantastical. Jesus was raised from the dead. That's fantastic. After 3 days.
Yeah.
You can believe that, but you can't believe the account of Jonah, whom Jesus points to.
Wow.
Right? And y'all, Jonah didn't just drown. Okay, Jonah didn't just drown. Jonah was destroyed.
Explain.
He was destroyed, y'all. It says that Jonah fell to the mountains of the deep. You know what that means? He imploded. His body was crushed.
Oh, gosh.
Right? He became chum, y'all.
Oh.
Right? So whatever was, and now there was a fish that gobbled him up. All right. So now I don't, and he was in there. He was dead, y'all. He was destroyed in the belly of a fish. He was close to becoming doo-doo. Right? But Jonah was resurrected. Jonah is a resurrection. The other people that were in the Bible that were dead for a moment, like by Jewish custom, it's like, well, right. One could argue that maybe they weren't dead. Yeah. It's like but as far as, the word is concerned, they were dead. But in Jewish custom, it's like, well, maybe the spirit is hanging around and stuff like that. So Jesus he covers all that. So Jonah himself was destroyed in this creature for 3 nights, right? Yeah. And resurrected, made whole. All right. So that's why Paul is able to say that, yeah, Jesus is the resurrection. Jesus himself referred to Jonah. All right. So
Amen.
Let's see. In fact, I myself thought it was necessary to do many things in opposition to the name of Yeshua, in the name of Yeshua HaNazareti. And that is what I did in Jerusalem. Not only did I look up many of the Kedoshim in prisons by the authority I received from the ruling Kohanim, but I cast my vote against them when they were being condemned to death. I tried to cause them to blaspheme by punishing them often in the synagogue. So he resorted to entrapment to get his way. So you got Paul pushing entrapment on people. That's what he did. And so while journeying to Damascus with the authority and commission of the ruling Kohanim, at midday, O king, I saw on the road a light from heaven, brighter than the sun, shining around me and all those traveling with me. So even the sun was outshined. This is noon, right? High noon, and the sun itself got outshined by this light.
Wow.
All right. So
that's crazy.
O king, I saw the road, a light from heaven, brighter than the sun, shining around me and those traveling with me. When we had fallen to the ground, I heard a voice saying to me in Aramaic, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me, man? It is hard for you to kick against the goads. So it's like a goad is like this prod, right? So Paul said, oh man, you poked me with that. Oh, quit. Yeah, you can't kick against goats. No, I can't stop. Oh man, you poked me in my foot. All right. So when I said, who are you, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Yeshua, whom you are persecuting. But get up and stand on your feet. But I have appeared to you for this purpose, to appoint you as a servant and a witness to these things you have seen, as well as to the things I will reveal to you. I will rescue you from your own people and from the Gentiles to whom I am sending you, to open their eyes so that they may turn from darkness to light and from the power of Satan to God. And they may receive release from sins, as well as a place among these who are made holy through trusting me. So, of course, Paul took some licks, right? Took a lot of licks. It's like, well, God doesn't sound like you protected him very well. It's like, well, Paul took a lot of licks and was still able to get through it. Okay. So true. It's like, there's instances where he could have been torn apart, but he wasn't. Yeah. All right. So, and plus that, remember what Paul just said. Jesus is like, I'm going to protect you, but you got to pay some dues, man.
Yeah, that's true.
You put people to death unjustly, thinking that you were doing it for me. And that's a violation of the commandment to not take my name in vain, but that's what you were doing. Okay. So you're going to take some licks, man, but I'll help you get through it. I'll protect your person. You'll be able to keep on doing it until your end. Yeah. Whatever end that might be. Chances are he was killed by Nero. I don't think the Bible really says. It's Paul's account just kind of ends. Yeah. Right. But as we read in here, it's like, man, you could have had it made, dude, if you not appealed to Caesar. I don't know if you know this, Paul, but that dude is crazy. So, all right. Yeah. So, let's see.
He's truly the picture of endure until the end.
Yeah, right.
Faith till the end.
For sure. Okay. And he said, Lord, I am Yeshua, whom you are persecuting, but get up. Okay, I read that.
You're on 19.
19. Thank you. Where's 19? Okay. Therefore, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient to the heavenly vision. Rather, I kept declaring, first to those in Damascus, and then Jerusalem, and throughout all the region of Judea, and also the Gentiles, that they may repent to turn to God, performing deeds consistent with that repentance. For this reason, some Judeans seized me in the temple and tried to put me to death. Since I've had God's help to this day, I have stood here testifying to both small and great. I am saying nothing but what the prophets and Moses said was going to happen. When the Messiah was to suffer, and that being first to rise from the dead, he would proclaim light. He would proclaim light both to the people and to the nations. As Paul was thus making his defense, Festus stands up with a loud voice and says, boy, you crazy. You crazy, Paul. Your great learning is driving you insane.
Oh, wow.
But Paul declares, I'm not insane. No, he says, I'm not insane, noble Festus. Rather, I am speaking the sober truth. For the king knows about these things, and I speak freely to him, since I am convinced that none of these things escape his notice. For this was not done in a corner, King Agrippa. Do you believe the prophets? I know that you believe. Agrippa said to Paul, in a short time, you are trying to persuade me to be messianic. I don't like it. No, at least I don't think I do. I do kind of like it, but I don't like it that I like it. Stop it, Paul. All right. Agrippa said to Paul, in a short time, you're trying to make me messianic. And Paul said, whether short or long, I would pray to God that not only you, but also who hear me today will be such as I am, except for these chains. Then the king stood up, as well as the governor, Bernice, and those sitting with him. Then they had gone away. When they had gone away, they began talking among themselves, saying, this man is doing nothing deserving of death or chains. But then Agrippa said to Festus, this man could have been set free if he had not appealed to Caesar.
Wow. Yeah. So why did he appeal to Caesar? So that he could get the message out there even more, or?
Well, the thing is, Paul makes it clear that he's, yo, man, I'm a Roman citizen. I have a right. I have a right to this.
True.
But I think Paul was also being very rhetorical, because he was here it is. He's being judged by these Judeans. And Paul's like, hold up. Didn't you guys say that you have no king but Caesar?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
You mentioned that last study.
So Paul is calling them out in that when Jesus brought out and said, here's your king. And they said, we ain't got no king except for Caesar. When they did that, y'all, they denounced the Davidic throne.
Oh, wow.
Right? They removed David as their king and accepted Caesar. Oh, big mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Paul is saying, hey, as far as the Judeans themselves have made it clear that you can't judge me. I appeal to Caesar. You guys made Caesar your king.
Yeah.
Right?